Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are talking about transitioning our pantry from summer cooking to fall and winter cooking, what ingredients I keep on hand, how I grocery shop because I do once a month grocery shopping, how I plan our homeschool meal plan system. It's not necessarily a menu, it's just a system on how I menu plan. And as a large family of 9 living within the city limits, we don't have access to growing our own food. And I didn't plant a garden this year because we anticipated a move, I had a baby coming, and we had a health crisis in our family. So although I kind of feel like we are behind, I'm actually not feeling stressed right now because one of the major things is I filled my freezers a couple months ago with our bulk meat purchase, which I shared in a recent grocery shopping video. And that in itself is financial and food security as a mama that feeds 7 kids plus me and my husband. And I'm going to share just some thoughts and ideas as I switch over my jars to fall ingredients. The first thing I touch on is that you just have to do what you can. Because we anticipated a move and I had a baby this spring and didn't plan a garden, although I don't have access to a huge garden plot, I could have planted some more things. But I just wanted to put my energy into making a baby, having a baby and growing a baby and and delivering a baby, and also just anticipating a move that I thought we were making plans and trying to map out, starting a homestead from scratch. And although those plans are on a little bit the back burner, they are still front and foremost on our mind. And anything I do and stock up on now is only going to serve me when we move. Although we had just dwindled down things because we didn't know what kind of space we were going into. But as we go into fall and winter, still in this house, I just thought it was more prudent to continue going back to stocking up. I know you know what kind of year it is in politics, and just anything that I stock up on, I want to be able to have it long term. So I'm stocking up a lot on beans and spelt grains, that in itself adds nutrients to our food. I don't want to fear stock up, but I remember empty grocery aisles, and as a large family, it was a little bit of a shock. And I want to be able to not only feed my family with food, I want to nourish my family. It looks like cooking from scratch. It looks like using an ingredient and knowing how to cook it 5 different ways instead of just one. This year, with having a new baby and knowing that we're going to move, I've relied more on my freeze dryer and my freezer. I have canned 0 jars this year, and I'm not even mad about it. But taking advantage of produce and things and freezing and freeze drying means that when we cook and eat those foods in the fall and winter, they are going to be more nutritious than me buying them fresh at the grocery store, because most of the time they're not going to be in season. Hold that thought. Once a month grocery shopping. Not only does this save me so many hours of time every month, is that I buy in bulk because we are a large family, so it's more cost effective also. But I buy it knowing that I have more than one way to prepare it. And since I buy single ingredients, I can use it different ways, which kind of segues on how I plan our homeschool meal system. Our homeschool meal system is having the same ingredients, but making them 2 different ways. We homeschool 4 days a week, so we have the same breakfast and lunch for 2 days, and then we do a different breakfast and lunch another 2 days. And although the ingredients might be the same throughout the month, like let's say I have ham and cheese on the menu. The first week I can make ham and cheese sandwiches or ham and cheese paninis, and then maybe another week I still have ham and I can do a lunchable type lunch where I can cube up the ham and cube up the cheese, and it's a different feel, although we're eating the same food. And I think that's important, just to have a little bit of versatility in your ingredients. And that's super basic, but it also can be, let's say quinoa. I use quinoa in my lentil soup, but I can also use it as a side. And I also make it when I do Buddha bowls for us. So it's different ways I can use it, even though we're eating the same ingredient. It's easy in fall and winter to kind of set aside a day to bulk prepare things also. That means from maybe I can use a jar and add all of my dry ingredients for pancakes. It means I can take a day and bulk bake for the month. I will also cook a double batch and put it in the freezer for another day, or if we have a it's 5 o'clock, what's for dinner kind of thing, I can pull something out of the freezer and reheat it. And that goes for bread products, that goes for soup, that goes, sometimes I even do it for rice, or I bulk braise some meat and have it in the freezer. Also, having a list of what your go-to meals are. If everything's falling down, you have a terrible day, or you've spent the day out of the house way longer than what you are, what are 5 to 7 recipes or throw together meals that you always have ingredients for? Or maybe you don't always have ingredients for, but it's always something that you lean towards if you have it. For us, 2 that come to my mind is breakfast for dinner and nachos. If I have some meat in the freezer or leftover meat in the fridge, I can throw together nachos. And breakfast could be pancakes, could be eggs. If I have some biscuits in the freezer, no big deal. I can throw dinner together quite quickly. In the fall and winter, we do eat a lot of nuts, a lot of dried fruit, a lot of baked goods, but I do try to make them more nutritious by lowering the sugar level and a lot of things, using sourdough. I mentioned I buy spelt grains, and although I haven't switched just over to completely spelt grains, I mix the 25-75 with baking bread or biscuits or different things to get added nutrients. I also made a greens of freeze-dried kale and spinach and things like that and blended it in my blender, and I can sprinkle it into soups. I find that it's important to also have treats on hand because it just makes things enjoyable. It could be as simple as having some hot tea in the afternoon with, a scone, something simple, something quick. But also, cooking and baking is a hobby of mine. As a mother, I don't have a ton of time with little children. I still don't have a ton of time to do things like sewing or knitting or things like that. So the way I enjoy cooking and baking, so I take that as my creative outlet. And so I will create cardamom buns or bake some amazing crusty bread or what have you. And I think it's turned into a little legacy I hope to leave for my children, that mom was an amazing cook and how good real food tastes.